stamps, but these are for the illegals in Springfield. And we have some people who worked at the grocery store who knew the extent of the food stamps that were given to the Haitians.
I can tell you personally that when I worked at the grocery store and I cashed them out, the receipts were alarming. $13,000 on EBT food, not including the $29,000 that was on EBT cash. It's infuriating. Yes, sir.
So they're not getting 600 to 1,500
and while they're
a month.
dressed very well, how are you able to dress like that?
Those are insane numbers.
Yeah, really. I don't think anyone knew that it was like that. They might be thinking, oh, a couple $100, 600, $500 a month. That was 13,000, 20,000 cash.
I don't think we covered this, but last Tuesday, RFK made a bombshell announcement that he's pulling all the funding for the mRNA platform. So they're not going to be. So if the United States, he's pulling $500 million in funding for further research on mRNA. Now, remember that mRNA is nothing like the old type of. In fact, they've been called gene therapy. That's what they've been called. And so here is RFK. He's going to tell you.
Hi, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here. Your HH.
So can you turn it up a little? So here's RFK. He's going to tell you why he did it.
Hi, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here. Your HHS secretary. At HHS, we have a division called the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA. BARDA drives some of our most advanced scientific research. It funds developments of drugs, diagnostics, and other tools to fight emergent diseases and national health threats. Over the past few weeks, BARDA reviewed 22 mRNA investments and began canceling them. Let me explain why. Most of these shots are for flu or but as the pandemic showed us, mRNA don't perform well against viruses that infect the upper respiratory tract. Here's the problem. mRNA only codes for a small part of the viral proteins, usually a single antigen. One mutation and ineffective. This dynamic drives a phenomenon called antigenic shift, meaning that the toxically encourages new mutations and can actually prolong pandemics as the virus constantly mutates to escape the protective effects of the.
So when I had Dr. Robert Malone on in 2021, in early 2021, he explained this is called immune escape, and that you can't vaccinate your way out of a pandemic, and that if you do, the virus is going to then mutate inside vaccinated people. And so they told people the exact opposite, that it was because of the unvaccinated people that the virus was mutating. Why would it need to mutate inside of an unvaccinated person? That never made. I tried to explain that to my friends, people who worked on this show. I tried to explain that to them, and they were they don't want to hear any of it. Just like none of my friends in Hollywood, none of them. I told no, the guy who invented the mRNA platform explained to me that you shouldn't be over vaccinating people because it creates a thing called immune escape, and then the virus actually mutates because you're over vaccinating, and that you can never and he's about to tell you that if we didn't do that, we could have got out of the pandemic faster. So let's listen.
Millions of people, maybe even you or someone you know, caught the Omicron variant despite being vaccinated. That's because a single mutation can make mRNA effective. The same risk applies to flu. After reviewing the science and consulting top experts at NIH and FDA, HHS has determined that mRNA technology poses more risk than benefits for these respiratory viruses. That's why, after extensive review, BARDA has begun the process of terminating these 22 contracts totaling just under $500 million. To replace the troubled mRNA programs, we're prioritizing the development of safer, broader strategies, like whole virus and novel platforms that don't collapse when viruses mutate. Let me be absolutely clear. HHS supports safe, effective for every American who wants them. That's why we're moving beyond the limitations of mRNA for respiratory viruses and investing in better solutions. Thank you.
Produced by the U.S. Department.
So my moron friends in Hollywood, my know-nothing Hollywood friends, don't understand the big words he just said because they never did their own research. And they don't know that what he just said is true. And that's something I've been saying since 2021. And I tried to explain it to them, and they wouldn't listen. They were told the exact opposite. They were told that the would stop the pandemic. They would stop the virus, and you couldn't transmit it, and you couldn't contract it if you got it. They were told that. They repeated it. I told them that wasn't true. And I also told them that if you can't vaccinate your way out of this, and that if you do, you're going to create a thing called immune escape, which means that the virus is going to mutate more. They wouldn't listen to me.
Because they're cows.
You know who they did listen to? They listened to Dr. Fauci and MSNBC and CNN and Rolling Stone magazine. They listened to all those people, all the liars.
You know, shit.
And then they talk shit about me on social media.
Okay, look, the entire alt comedy scene, because right now there's a whole thing with Marin and, you know, because Tony has the premier flipper arm Squid Game show, and for some reason Marin's jealous of that. And there's a whole back and forth about it. I want to have Marin on my show to ask him, because I know he went along with all the stuff. And every LA dumb shit liberal, when you bring it up, they don't want to dwell on it. They want to move on.
They want to move on.
Like mistakes were made. So why are you talking about anybody else, anything, after you just let a Mengele experiment happen that you supported and you were part of it?
Because
it's great they banned this mRNA. I got 2 shots. So a little late for old Jeeves over here.
Yeah. Because those people they don't want to talk about it, Kurt. The people I know don't want to talk about it because they will have to admit that they took part in something monstrous. And
they're pussies. They did it because they didn't want to make a choice in life. They wanted to be led around, and their validation comes from outside of them.
Yes.
Every loser that I've ever met that gives a shit about Hollywood like that still, they're a quarter of a human being. And all their validation comes from consensus that they're good. You know, like cattle. And so that's why they're like that. And anybody that has a personality would go, this doesn't make sense with the stuff they told me before. Like, I'm not that smart to notice this. But these people on purpose are cows.
Stephen Colbert was ripping the and Big Pharma when Donald Trump was president. And as soon as Joe Biden became president, he flipped and starts doing dances with shaming people who were saying the things he was saying just a few months earlier.
Yeah, that's how you know he doesn't believe the stupid shit he's saying. He's an intentional demonic liar. That's how you know that.
And then all my asswipe Hollywood ex-friends are going to say, you know what they're going to say when they see that he pulled the funding for mRNA? They're going to say, oh, well, he had a brain worm and he used to be on heroin, but he's afraid of taking a shot now, because that's their level 1 single-celled version of irony.
Have some heroin. What are you, afraid of taking a shot? Have some fentanyl.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of taking a shot?
So here's an HHS Special Advisor, Dr. Stephen Hatfield. Listen to what he says. He's going to explain to you a little bit more about what Bobby just said.
Walk us through what led to the decision of finally getting, stopping the underwriting of American taxpayer for this experimental gene therapy, sir.
Hi, Stephen. Good to see you once again. What happened is that the data had accumulated to the point where meta-analysis studies could be done. These are very comprehensive analysis, and it virtually came back consistently that there was no benefit to risk ratio for taking a messenger RNA. In fact, it was more dangerous to take a than it was to contract 19 and be hospitalized with it.
Whoa.
We're now in 2022 that this data started to come out. The side effects for this essentially gene therapy was so enormous and progressive, it was difficult to fathom. And then finally, a few months ago, some of the detailed biochemistry studies started to appear in the literature. And this sudden flood of messenger RNA, it appears irrespective of what the messenger RNA insert is coding for. Just the sheer amount of number of millions of molecules of messenger RNA entering the cell is creating biochemical havoc. It's disrupting protein metabolism. It's interfering with tumor suppressor genes. It's damaging the mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell. It had to be stopped.
It's creating biological. What's that, Kurt?
I got 2 shots. Thanks for saying this now, assholes.
I know. So Kurt, they couldn't test it on animals because PETA would be upset. So that's why they just used you as the guinea pig.
I should have smoked crack. I was like, I shouldn't smoke crack.
The difference is that they don't have to, if they did it on animal experiments, instead of doing it on you, is that they don't have to feed you and change your cage.
Yeah, right.
right?
Right.
So you have to do that part. So the lab rat gets more respect than you do from Big Pharma. So just sit on that for a while.
Yeah, that's eco shit. That's why you're supposed to feel guilty for farting in God's earth because somehow it's heating up the earth.
So he's got more to say. Listen to this.
It turns out that the manufacturers did not do due diligence to ensure these were safe products before they were released onto the American market.
No kidding. Well, we've been telling you that for years here at the Jimmy Dore Show, and you knew that when they brought a Pfizer executive in front of the European Parliament and they asked, did you do these tests to see if it stopped transmission or contraction before you released your to the market? And the Pfizer executive said, no, we didn't do those tests because we were working at the speed of science, which is a made-up term. So we've known this for a long time here at the Jimmy Dore Show, that they didn't do their due diligence and they lied to us. And that's what this special advisor to the HHS is telling you right now.
And throughout 2021 to 2024, the drug companies essentially ran the pandemic response. Nobody stood up to them. Nobody questioned them. Judicial Watch, America's First Legal, were able to obtain some documents. They didn't want to release it. Pfizer, they wanted a 70-year moratorium on the clinical data from the trials.
Remember, they wanted to bury their clinical trial data for 75 years. I think he's right. I think it was 75 years. They weren't going to release the trial data for 75 years. And again, all my asshole friends in Hollywood was like, yeah, that's fine. All the news hosts on TV, that sounds right. No problem.
Which from the start showed these never prevented infection, never prevented disease transmission. And there's no good clinical data to ever show it reduced the severity of disease. The CDC in response, I don't know what's wrong with that once fine agency.
Really?
But they become a supplicant of Big Pharma.
Really? Well, that's like, I don't know what happened to the CDC. Well, it's like saying, I don't know what happened to the mafia. What are you kidding me?
Wait, Jimmy, what was the purpose of those shots if they knew ahead of time it didn't do any of those things? And it's a platform, right? mRNA,
right,
to get things in. So what was the actual intention of the shots? Are we going to get to know that? I'll bet we're not.
I don't think so.
They put out a paper saying, yes, we've saved like 14 million lives, the vaccination program. No. The paper's been torn to shreds by epidemiologists. It was based against a computer model and against an idea where you have the peak and it comes down and then it goes back up again. The have injured hundreds of thousands, and we're not really sure how many have been killed by it, but a significant amount. They had to come off the market. There was no choice. You want to make America healthy again, it had to be stopped.
That's pretty strong words.
Why is everybody not in an uproar over here in this?
I don't know.
This is infuriating. And Trump is just bragging about warp speed again.
Because you got to go to shows like this or Steve Bannon's War Room to hear about this stuff. And when RFK puts out a press release like he did, the Big Pharma funded media discredits it. They'll say he's got this guy was on heroin. This guy's got a brainworm. He's taken away your. They're not going to tell you the real truth. You have to come to shows like this to get the real truth.
I promise you, you have friends right now that are storing fluoride tablets to chew and swallow because they're afraid of fluoride. They probably drink bottled water, and they're afraid the fluoride's being taken out of the water.
So what he's saying in that video is that the caused more damage than did. That's what he's saying. The guy who's the special advisor to the HHS.
You're going to do nothing about it. You're going to sit there and talk about some fucking social civil war bullshit. And that's how it's going to go forever.
In order to prevent this guy Freeman and colleagues published another study showing that in order to prevent one COVID-19 hospitalization over a 6-month period among young adults, 18 to 29, over 30,000 of them would need to receive a third booster of mRNA. For each hospitalization that the mRNA prevented, the analysis estimated that at least 18.5 serious adverse events would occur. So that cost-benefit analysis is totally against using that mRNA platform.
Yeah, they did it anyway.
So you save one person going to the hospital, but then 18 people get an adverse event.
I hope somebody has the sense to go, why did they do that? We know it wasn't to help COVID. What was the purpose of shooting me up with that shit? Is anyone going to find that out? Or we don't get to know? Because I bet RFK knows more than he's saying. And by the way, Steve Bannon has 15 hours of Epstein footage that he's just not releasing until what, his deal with a network goes through? Remember, we asked him?
Let me just let's not confuse segments. Let me just keep this segment on this. Let me remind you what this guy said.
The have injured hundreds of thousands, and we're not really sure how many have been killed by it, but a significant amount. They had to come off the market. There was no choice. You want to make America healthy again, it had to be stopped.
So RFK has done it. And he's so now if the government is going to stop providing hundreds of millions of dollars to research new mRNA vaccines, they're going to go away. That's my guess. That they will go away. Fingers crossed.
Why did I not smoke crack? I should have just smoked crack.
Right, no kidding. And it's Kurt says, it's amazing that people, I really can't get over this. Like it weighs on me. And I think about it every day, too long every day, about how my old friends in Hollywood aren't outraged at the lies they were told and that they were used as guinea pigs in an experimental medical procedure that the people at Big Pharma always knew was a lie. That is the weirdest thing. Like they weren't upset when they found out that no, it didn't come from a wet market, that the virus actually was created by Anthony Fauci, who lied about it. They weren't upset. They're upset at Joe Rogan, but they're not upset at the guy who literally invented the virus that they all are scared about.
They're angry at ivermectin.
They're not angry at Dr. Fauci for inventing the virus and for lying about it and lying to Congress about it. They're not upset that they were lied to about masks or that they were lied to about lockdowns or that they were lied to about the stopping transmission and contraction. They're angry at that the whole basis for the mandate, the whole reason why I had that debate with my best ex-friend Graham Elwood was about people being for mandates on bogus information. And when I showed those people that they were basing that on bogus information, they got mad at me because they're adult children of alcoholics. Because that's what an adult child of an alcoholic does. You don't get mad at the person screwing you, which is Dr. Fauci, the entirety of the corporate media. You get mad at the person who tells you that you're being screwed over. And that's exactly what happened to this show.
They're like a chick being cheated on, that you tell her she's being cheated on, she's mad at you.
And she's mad at you.
All of them.
And
Russia hacked our relationship, baby.
And I can forgive them all for being wrong, but they'll never forgive me for being right. And I've been right about this since I interviewed Dr. Robert Malone, which was in early 2021. I was wrong about it up until then. I was wrong about it. I bought the propaganda too. They scared the hell out of me. So I just this should be a huge news story. Of course it's not. Of course this is not a huge news story. It should be, but it's not going to be. And if you didn't take the vax, you could be in a room full of other people who didn't take the vax at my next stand-up comedy show, which is going to be in Rutherford, New Jersey, Manhattan, New York, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Chicago, South Bend, no, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, and Appleton, Wisconsin. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to you, Steph.
Okay. Anyone worried that they can't get their precious boosters? Remember that $500 million in government subsidies is much less than the billions in profit that Pfizer and Moderna generated due to the pandemic. Did I read that one? Oh, wait a minute. Let's see here. Why does the government pay for research, but Pfizer keeps all the profits? I can send the pic of Epstein IDF shirt pic to Kirk's Instagram messenger if he can't find, as it was revealed by Mint Press News and saved on my Telegram. Goo81.
Wait, whose IDF pic?
Epstein. Epstein wearing an IDF shirt.
Oh, how do I get now? How do
See,
wait, how
he
do I
says
get
that he goes like this. Goo81 says, I can send the pic of Epstein's IDF shirt pic to Kirk's Instagram messenger if he can't find it, as it was
send it immediately to my Instagram.
Send it immediately, Goo, and as it was revealed by Mint Press News. Okay, thank you for that one, Goo. All right. The dangerous and unhealthy relationship between Israel and the U.S. is becoming more evident to the global community as it aims to stop the horrible genocide of Palestinians by these two countries. Reverend Randy. The gold bugs on FinanceTube are saying USA is actually buying up a ton of gold because Trump wants to magically revalue it to pay off the national debt. Apparently, Trump Jr. was hawking gold on his podcast, Octagon. They're stopping the mRNA and using AI to create more lethal bioweapons. Whoa, acetate. We murdered and maimed some folks with Ed. Safe and effective is the biggest lie ever promulgated. Some people in decision policy-making places need to be strung up by their ankles until dead. J. LSD, safer than Thank you, Pine Tucket. Crack was more well-tested than shot when it was released. Flint match.
Yeah, your leaders were doing it too.
Hey, we tried to warn you. You called us paranoid, stupid, and insane. Enjoy your fucking bed, Greg. Cigarettes are better for you than vax. I know people that smoke extra cigarettes for defense. LOL. Carl. Jimmy, your Hollywood friends are over. 8.4 thousand people in this chat right now. We're your friends. We love and admire you. You inspire us to tell the truth. Karen! Karen! Look at you, Karen. That's so nice. All right, let me see. What do I got here? Uh-oh, here we go. Have you seen all the mRNA studies coming out of McCullough Foundation lately? It's absolutely terrifying. The question is, how do we reverse or reduce the ongoing damage? That is the question.
Hey.
Back to Mr. Jim.